Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Art of MMA. I'm your host, Mike Ginn. That is the mechanic, Brandon Cuttino. Today, we're going to be talking about quite a few subjects. Lucky for Brandon, we don't have any fight picks this week because it's an off week for most of the major promotions. So your lead dog is going to be comfortable, as you know. But we do got a lot to cover. We will give our quick thoughts on 1X as well as UFC Columbus last weekend. We'll talk about Mighty Mouse a little bit more in depth. Break down the whole drama between Figueiredo, Moreno, and Kai Kara France now. We'll talk about Nate Diaz, and then we'll also talk about the upcoming Bellator Grand Prix. Get our thoughts on that, kind of replace our picks for the week. So we'll talk about that. But first, Brandon, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. It's always good to talk some MMA with you.
Yeah, because you got so many different things going now. You got your kickboxing show, you got your work, your training. Yep. Man, I'm glad you fit me in your schedule now, bro.
Hey, man, I do what I can, you know?
So like I said, we got a lot of stuff going on. Make sure you check out FightersFirst.shop. We got all the brand new vintage 22 stuff in there right now. I can safely announce that we're also going to be adding the Bad News Brown, Bad News Allen collection in there. Of course, Alan Coage, famous wrestler during the 80s and 70s around the world, not just WWF. But then also, he's mostly known also for his story before his wrestling. If you follow his story, he was a Olympian, bronze medalist in judo back in the 76 Olympics, broke down a lot of color barriers, only the second black athlete at the time to ever really medal. So it was pretty important at the time. It's still important. I almost wish we could have gotten the deal done during Black History Month. I think that would have been a really cool thing to do. But I'm happy to be honoring the estate and paying homage to him. So that will be coming soon. Pay attention to FightersFirst.shop. Of course, I got the brand new Art of MMA shirt on. So check that out. Links below, of course. And you can see the Art of MMA and the brand new mechanic shirt right in the graphic right below our faces. So that's all right there. Brandon, last weekend, man, we had some action, didn't we? 1X came to deliver. UFC Columbus came to deliver. Quick, get your thoughts on 1X right off the bat. Your girl lost, but she showed super toughness going against Angelique, getting out of a number of submissions before she finally got her. What do you think of that whole event?
Yeah, man, 1X, man, was busy, man. I mean, it started out at 1 a.m., part 1 and part 2 was at 5 a.m., and the pay-per-view was at 8 a.m., but I wasn't up for the two, for the part 1 and part 2.
I watched it all much later. Thank you.
Yeah. But no, man, I mean, it was a good card, man. I mean, I'm kind of a little shocked on my kickboxing picks that I got wrong. It was just kind of the craziest thing. Like,
I know. You got something wrong?
I know. So bad, man.
22 is not your year, bro.
Yeah, but either way, man, I mean, it was still good action, good fights. Angelique, man, proved why she is the champ. You know, she came off her layoff, still got the job done. But like you said, man, Stan Fredex, her stock still rose, in that fight. The mixed rules fight, which is the fight that I think a lot of people were kind of looking forward to. DJ, I mean, hey, it's like we kind of said it's like I said how I thought it was gonna be, and I thought that DJ he would be able to.
It was the only fight pick I got wrong last week. Okay, bro.
But hey, DJ survived the first round, second round. He did what he does. He used his wrestling. He got a submission. Match is over, man. Shout outs to Sexy Yama, bringing Sexy back. He looked good as well in his fight. But yeah, man, it was just all around, man, a good card. But yeah, it was all around this good card.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Adriano Moraes too, because he was on his feet. He wasn't really doing as great, and then he was able to get that fight to the ground, get that choke in. But I mean, Wakamatsu brought the heat to him early, especially. But Moraes shows why he's a legit champ, why he beat DJ. He's for the real deal, and I hope they get him some real competition to keep showcasing his talents because he's tall and lanky, especially for bantamweight, and he's going to give people problems if he can stay at that weight. I just don't know if they have enough competition for him. I know they have a lot of lightweight fighters, but not a lot of names so hopefully some other people will come up and surprise you as far as that goes. And like you said, Angela Lee, I told you last week, like when we were talking about this, she's only getting better. She's only like 25 years old. Like we've known her for a number of years because she was such a phenom at a young age, like 17, 18, bursting on the scene. Obviously, the whole family is like good martial arts. Christian's a big deal. And there's another sister, I believe, too, right? That's like just starting out.
Maybe, yeah. You could be right.
And then Stamp, she did her thing. Like, on the feet, you saw what she could do. But on the ground, Angela was twisting her in every different direction, including a twister that everybody couldn't believe that Stamp even got out of. So that just shows her toughness and shows her grit. So she'll be back. She's mostly kickboxer and Muay Thai, so MMA is not necessarily her thing, but she definitely is trying more to get into that realm. I believe she's 8-2 now. So she's been doing it for a little bit, but that's the top level, and there's levels to this. We talk about it all the time. And if she hung with Angela Lee for a little bit, she's only going to get better. So both of them are really young. So be a lot of bright side on that. What you think of UFC Columbus, though? Blaydes came out and did exactly what both of us kind of thought he was going to do to Daukaus.
Yeah, man, it was UFC Columbus was good. Like I said, Curtis Blaydes did his thing. He got the job done. Man, dude, that co-main event, man, really was a shocker. Didn't think it was going to end the way how it ended. Like I said, man, if Joanne will
shocker for who?
Huh? No,
shocker for who?
You did not see a submission coming.
Who did I pick?
A submission coming.
Who did I pick though?
Hey, like I said, I'm shocked how it ended, not by who won or anything like that. I said shocked how it ended. Saying nobody saw a submission coming, and especially too, man, rear naked choke. It was kind of like so simple, but hey, man, shout outs to Grasso. She did her thing.
Rear naked choke. Everybody says it's like, oh, it's so simple, it's so easy. Guess what? You get stuck in that damn thing, you're done. It doesn't matter if you're.
Hey, man, Kara France got out of it. Just saying.
Yeah, some people can, but if it's in tight, you're done.
Yeah, but now, but
you go to sleep.
But keep on going, man. Though, like I said, the Kai Kara France fight was pretty good. That was pretty entertaining.
Him a lot of praise. We'll talk about later.
Yeah, the Matt Brown fight, that definitely probably was fight of the night. Yeah, man, that Neil Magny Max Griffin fight, man, it was a little iffy up there, but hey, man, I'm shout outs to my guy Neil Magny. I'm glad he got the job done as well on that one.
That was my pick.
And no, you picked Max Griffin.
No, I didn't. Go look at the tape. I picked Neil Magny.
Did you really pick Neil Magny?
Yeah, go look at the tape. I was 5-1 last week. That was my fight pick. I said it was going to be fight of the night. And I had Neil Magny. I said I wouldn't be surprised because Max Griffin always is like super tough, and every time you count him out, he comes back and gets a big win. But no, I had Neil Magny last week. I was 5-1. Thank you very much, Mr. 3-3.
Hey man, you win some, you lose some, baby. It's all right.
You losing a lot this year, bro.
It's early.
We talked about this off air for a second before we started. Matt Brown just got an extension to his contract today. What about Brian Barberino, who actually won the fight? He actually won the fight. He's still like, technically, he's fought his contract. He's unemployed right now. He's a free agent. So hopefully UFC steps up and does him right. Otherwise, he could be making some money over in Bellator PFL real quick, the way the scene's kind of going today. We talked about Kara France a little bit in the intro. We'll be talking about that later with the whole Davison Figueiredo and Moreno situation. Alexa Grasso looked great. But you get caught sometimes. Guillotines, rear naked chokes, some of the triangle chokes. Like everybody's like, how you get caught in a triangle in 2022? People do it. It's one, it's tried and true. It's one of those traditional things. One of the first things you learn in jiu-jitsu for a reason, because it works. It works. And Curtis Blaydes, I kind of wonder where Chris Daukaus goes from here, right? Because he was up on the way up, and then he got knocked out by Lewis. He got knocked out by Blaydes now. And I don't want to discount Chris Daukaus as a legitimate contender, but now I kind of wonder if he has like a glass jaw. Like he took some big shots before he went down, but if you're the guy that keeps getting knocked out, then all of a sudden, where are you then? And I've talked about this a number of times. Some fighters just aren't the same after they get knocked out. If you lose a fight, that's one thing. If you get knocked out, sometimes it does some things to the brains of a fighter. I remember I got knocked out, not even in a fight. I was doing I was sparring and boxing. I was like 19, and I was sparring a guy who was slightly bigger than me. He was definitely faster than I was, but we didn't have anybody else to work out with, so we were working out, headgear and all. This dude knocked me out cold. Like I was out for at least 30 seconds. Like I was out. I went to slip something, and I saw the tape back later. An uppercut caught me, and I was just like, I never saw it coming. And my brain was jarred for weeks after that. I mean, I eventually bounced back and I was good, but my brain was jarred for a few weeks after that. I just, sometimes, Brandon, like you just don't feel like your normal self, like after something like that happens. So some people bounce back, and obviously at a level when you're getting hit by 265-pound men, that's going to be a little bit different. So I wonder what Chris Daukaus' future is. He's very talented, but where does he go from here? Curtis Blaydes is calling. Yeah, Curtis Blaydes is calling out Cyril Gane now. Yep. So that might be an interesting fight to see. He's like, if Ngannou wrestled you, what do you think I would do to you? So interesting story. And another thing I want to point out, man, Sarah McMahon just doesn't go away. You know, everybody had Carol Rosa winning that fight, and Sarah McMahon toughed it out and got that fight. Chris Gutierrez looked really good, like I said, you know, going into the fight. I was really high on him. A lot of people were picking Dana. I like Gutierrez a lot. Your girl, Figueiredo did her thing against Maya.
Yep.
But it was a fun card to watch. It was a really fun card to watch. You know, Kai Kara-France looked great, but don't discount how tough Askarov was in that fight too, which made Kara-France look better. So good card. We got till next week before we see the big UFC 273 with everything going on with that. We'll talk about that next week. Volkanovski, Zombie, and then of course Jan and Sterling and everything else on that card. Pretty fun fight card on that one. It's pretty stacked actually. It keeps getting bigger too. I think today
they 3-0 that week, baby. Watch.
What's that?
Yeah, I say I'm gonna go 3-0 that week, baby. Watch.
And they just announced that Duplessis will be stepping in to fight Gastelum on that card too. So should be fun. And of course, like we said, Jacksonville, not Brooklyn. So fun stuff. Fun.
And you already know who my fight pick's gonna be that week.
Julio, somebody.
Exactly.
All right, let's get into this show, Brandon. A lot of stuff in the world changes, but Mighty Mouse doesn't. He's been the top flyweight, bantamweight. Like, he's been one of the top little guys in the sport for so long. And I brought this subject to the table today for a couple reasons. One, I don't think, even with his loss to Moraes, I don't think people questioned his status as one of the best or the best in the flyweight, and now what one calls bantamweight, but it's really like a flyweight divisions. But I kind of wonder where he stands all time. Like, we all have him as one of our top 2 or 3 GOATs, pound for pound today. Like, today. When he was in the UFC running everything, people had him at number 1, even above John Jones sometimes. We know where he stands today. He has respect across the board today. But if you were to look back at Mighty Mouse 10 years from now, where do you have him? Because, you know, when we talk about some of the all-time greats, the Anderson Silvers, the George St. Pierres, the Randy Couture's, different weight classes across the board, I think we'll be talking about Usman for years to come. But we tend to forget the little guys sometimes. When you think about Mighty Mouse's career, where do you kind of rank him in your top 10, top 5? Like, is he there?
Yeah, I would definitely say he's a top 5 guy. You know, like I said, man, I mean, he was a dominant champion, you know, for the flyweight division. You know, like I said, he basically took on all comers, didn't matter who it was. And then he started getting finishes, you know, towards the end of his UFC run. You know, and he was getting finishes in like highlight fashions. You know, he was beating people with like a second left in the fight. You saw his throw to the armbar finish. Yeah, you know, so like I said, man, he was being the best of the best in his division, and he was kind of making it look easy, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's his problem. He made it look too easy sometimes, you know. Other than in recent memory, the Henry Cejudo loss, and then recently last year, the loss to Moraes, he's run through everybody, right? When he came over to one, and that Ben Askren trade thing where both guys kind of wanted to move and just made it easier to trade each other. He came over, got 3 wins before he lost Moraes, then bounced back and got that special exhibition. They're calling it an exhibition. I don't think it even counts against his MMA record, but against Rod Ting last weekend. But I think what he's really going to be judged on is obviously the UFC run. And up until he fought Henry Cejudo, which even that was a split decision loss. It's not like he lost. Like it was up in the air right at the end. I thought Cejudo won that fight, but my heart was still screaming DJ, as as I am as a fan. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm not a fan of the guy. He made watching fights fun. He's always had a lot of great personality, whether it's talking anime or talking Xbox and gaming, the Dragon Ball Z stuff, some of his antics and theatrics is actually the word I was looking for. Like when he's going in and out of the cage and stuff and doing and like all the cool stuff he does. He's a little nerdy and it's kind of fun, right? Like as many of us fight fans are a little nerdy when it comes to some of that stuff. I look at some of the all-time greats, right? And I don't think, I think people like Uriah Faber probably won't get the credit he deserves 10 years from now. People probably remember him for hanging on a little too long and just always getting title shots and not finishing. But DJ was the champ for so long that once he lost, there was a lot of talk, especially when Cejudo went up to bantamweight, of just getting rid of the division because the division was built for DJ. When he went over to one, he never lost any steam. People were shocked at the knockout against Moraes, which a move that would have been illegal in the UFC. We saw that with Jan and Sterling, the knee on the ground. But DJ didn't complain once. He's like, it's part of the game. It's what I signed. That's the rules I have. It's what I signed up for. Good for him. I'll get it back. And he's looking forward to getting that rematch with Moraes and trying to run that back. But man, Tim Elliott, Wilson Reese, Ray Borg, Henry Cejudo the first time, Dodson, Horiguchi, who's now, we talk about later in the bantamweight tournament. Names like Benavidez a couple times, Moraga, Dodson again, McCall. Like he went through a murderer's row of some of the best at the time. But the question always really was flyweight having the most competition. We talk about that today. A lot of times, me and Alex Soto have talked about that off air. I think I easily have him in my top 10 all time. Like that's not a question to me. But I know, like we talked about this one time. Remember when we were talking about the heavyweights and how they kind of rank and how people kind of like pay to see the heavyweights more than they pay to see some of the lightweight fighters. We know the lightweight fighters are going to be a more exciting fight. But the heavyweights are what really sell tickets. The bigger guys sell tickets, the light heavyweights and the heavyweights and even the welterweights nowadays. I think it's tough to put him in my top 5. Maybe I'll look more nostalgically at it after it's all done because he's still 35. He's still ticking. He's still going on and fighting. I'd like to see him get a few more super fights. I think that's the one thing that missed from his run beginning with. He didn't have really super fights. Like there was talk about him and Dominic Cruz running it back as a super fight, but Dominic was always hurt. There was talk about him and TJ Dillashaw.
He didn't want that smoke. DJ didn't want that smoke from Dominic Cruz again.
But see, there you go. So now you're throwing a shade at DJ, and that's the question, right?
Nah, man, dude.
What he done? Like he went to flyweight for a reason.
Nah, I mean, well, he was a smaller guy, just like Benavidez, just like Uncle Creepy, Ian McCall. They all went down there because they were all smaller guys. But it was like saying, you saw the Dominic Cruz DJ fight. Dominic Cruz ragdolled him. So I'm saying, you didn't want to see that fight. Now, the TJ Dillashaw fight, he said he was up for it. But again, like we're having a conversation now, he said, pay me for it. They didn't want to pay him. That's why that super fight never happened. DJ, the reason why I like DJ was really ahead of his time. He's one of the first guys that got on Twitch, that started having his fans on. He was the first guy that had like Xbox sponsor him, doing these things like that. Because again, like you say, he was a nerdy guy. So he was all up on that stuff first. So I give him props for that. And then next thing now you see everybody else, in other regions, jumping on Twitch and everything like that.
Another unpaid sponsorship. Thank you, Dr. Pepper.
Hey, 23 flavors, baby. You know where it is. So I mean, so I'm saying that's one of the things on why too. Like I give DJ props as well because, like I said, he was ahead of the game on that. Getting Xbox, getting on Twitch, getting his fans involved. Yeah,
I think the question for a long time was he doesn't finish fights. He's not exciting, and so he stepped up. He started doing flying arm bars and he started doing all this stuff, finishing these fights. Kimura's arm bars, knockouts, like he going crazy for a while. One last question on this topic before we move on. If he beats Henry Cejudo in that split decision, does he ever leave the UFC?
I don't know, man. Dude, that's up to that Dana White. I want to trade you the nonsense, man. Who knows? I really don't know.
Do you think on a rumor mill type of way? Because we know the real reason that not the real reason. The reason they announced that Mighty Mouse was willing to move on was because he wanted to try something new. He wanted to do new things. He wanted to do challenges. He wanted to go to Japan and China and Asia and see what he could do. But we do know that around the same time, a couple years before that, even they started the Reebok deal. They started a bunch of these other kits and all this other stuff, which eliminated a lot of the money that DJ was making from Xbox. Do you think that actually had a lot more to do with it? Like,
hey man, it could be, man. Like
I said, he's evolved a lot of stuff.
Exactly, like I said, DJ was a smart guy. He was a businessman. The dude was on the game, man. He knew what was up. Like I said, I don't blame him for being like, you know what, man, I want out. Deuces, let me go elsewhere. So like I said, man, like I said, that's why I give DJ props. I'm saying not just for his fighting style, but also to what he was doing outside of it as well.
And last question: do you think he retires in one, or do you think he comes back to America for like one last fight?
I'd probably say he would retire in one. I don't think he has any desire to go back to the UFC, and I don't even know. I mean, I think I did listen to an interview of him where he was saying where I think he was trying to say like he couldn't really do 125 anymore anyway. I think he's a 135er now or whatever.
Yeah, the Rodtang fight was at Bantamweight.
Yeah, so I mean, he could maybe come to Bellator if they with their 135 division that they have pretty stacked. But who knows, man? Who knows what DJ really has in mind for himself?
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. But I like to hear the fans at home. I like to hear your thoughts on this subject because look, we know today DJ is one of the best flyweight bantamweights in the world. We know that. Where does he rank all time as far as all pound for pound fighters? Let us know in the comments. Drop a comment on that. Tell us what you think of DJ's career, and also let us know, what do you think? Do you think he'll retire in Asia, or do you think he'll come back to the States for a fight? So we'll see. But let us know in the comments. Moving on. Speaking of the flyweights and everything, Kai Kara-France looked pretty great last weekend in Columbus. Raised a lot of eyebrows. A lot of people were talking about, we're still talking. The plan 100%, according to Dana, is Moreno and Figueiredo this summer and a quadrilogy, whatever you want to call it. I know there's another name for it too, but for a fourth fight. I'll leave it at that. Before even Figueiredo propped up Kai Kara-France, Moreno posted something like an hour before that saying, if Figueiredo's crying and he's hurt, and I'm loosely translating what he said in Spanish on his Instagram post. Basically, if he's crying and he's hurt, I would love to fight Kai Kara-France for an interim title. Now, that's interesting in itself because Moreno's already beaten Kai Kara-France. That fight already took place. That was when Kai Kara-France lost a couple fights back-to-back. Or not back-to-back, but within 3 fights to him and Royval. Not even an hour later, Figueiredo comes out and says, I found a new thing to light my fire in my belly. Like, this makes me hungry to fight at flyweight. I want to fight Kai Kara-France. Moreno gets to the back of the line. I want a new challenge. I want Kai Kara-France. Who's a fighter he hasn't fought before? So it is a new challenge to somebody, and he's already fought a guy 3 straight times. I could see wanting a break and do something different, but at the same time, we know the history of the 3 fights, right, Brandon? We know that arguably Moreno might even have won the last fight, but the decision did go to Figueiredo. I picked that one. Anyway, I had to.
I mean, so did I, but all right. Oh, no, you picked Figueiredo.
No, you did. In all 3 fights, you've picked Moreno.
Hey, man, and all 3 fights, I really was correct. But, hey, some judges are blind.
First of all, you were wrong in the first one because even though it was a draw, we know that point wasn't deducted. It would have gone to Figueiredo. The second one left no doubt. Moreno just came and ran through him. The third one was very up in the air, very depending how you score a fight. But I think I picked Figueiredo. I thought Moreno won the fight. I can be honest. But what do you think? What do you think of this? I'm just going to leave this open to you. Go on your rant. What do you think of this whole thing?
Hey, man, I mean, to me, it's just guys getting ready for the next fight. Like like Moreno said, yo, if Figueiredo is gonna say he's hurt and he can't fight, then hey, he'll fight Kai Kara-France. Kai Kara-France is the hot name.
But where does that come from? Nobody's ever said that Figueiredo was hurt.
Hey man, Moreno might have some intel, man. He got some inside scoops. Like these fighters, they have inside scoops before we get it.
Well, they got friends in every camp, yeah.
Yeah, like no, but even RDA when he was supposed to fight Fiziev, he found out like on Saturday that fight might be canceled. He kind of already had an inkling about it on like a Saturday. Then on Monday, that's when the news broke. But he kind of already had a feeling about it. So I'm saying, so these guys, they're already getting feels about it before we hear about it. So like I said, he might know something we don't know. So we shall see. But like to me, he's getting himself ready for the next fight. Like I said, Kai Kara-France is the hot name in the flyweight division. He just beat the number 1 ranked flyweight. So that probably means that he'll become the new number 1, the way how they usually do their rankings. So he's just getting himself ready for the next guy. And then Figueiredo trying to say, oh, you know what? Like you say, man, he's fought Moreno 3 times. He's trying to get Moreno out. And he wants to fight Kai Kara-France because he probably thinks that that's going to be the better fight. Maybe like say, because it's Kai Kara-France, another guy who'll just come, stand, and bang. Maybe he sees something where he's like, you know what? I think I could beat Kai. He could beat Kai Kara-France. So we'll just have to wait and see what goes on. But I think it will be the 4th fight because that's what Dana White said is going to happen. But hey, he's the promoter. You can never really trust the promoter.
It's fun to talk about. It's fun to talk about, but yeah, I think the quadrilogy is going to happen. Quadrilogy, whatever. But
and KKF just waits for the winner.
Well, see, here's another thing. What about Alex Pantoja? Because he's been winning and he's beaten Moreno twice. Where does he get left in all this? Like people, like it's everybody like, what have you done for me lately? What is the hot name in the fighter circle? Because he just fought, so everybody forgets about the other guy. We talked about in the light heavyweight division with Rakic, like how he was supposed to be a number 1 guy, and then all of a sudden Yuri wins, and all of a sudden he's the number 1 guy, and these guys kind of get like pushed back because they fought. Like it's almost like the Oscars without the Will Smith slap. Like if you get a movie come out right at the end of the cycle and it's the hottest movie, then it has a better chance of winning because it's fresh on everybody's minds. Kai Kara-France is fresh on everybody's minds. I personally don't think Kai Kara-France deserves the next shot. I think Alex Pantoja does because it wasn't too long ago. It was only like 4 fights ago he lost to Royval. 2 fights before that he lost to Moreno. Now he's gotten 3 straight fights where he's looked impressive against, Montorin, Garbrandt he looked great against, and then Askarov. And maybe he should be in the conversation, but especially if you're going to do a 4th fight between Moreno and Figueiredo, then maybe have Pantoja and France fight in a contender fight, and the winner of that gets the next guy, because I want to see those two kind of square off before I decide who should get it next. I haven't heard anything about Figueiredo being hurt. If anything, I've heard Moreno really having the issues because he left his camp at Tijuana to go train in the United States. He's changed all his stuff up. Some people say it was planned before the loss. Other people say it's kind of reactionary to losing. And now all of a sudden he wants to do different things because he feels like he's not developing enough. But he had a major camp going on. It was pretty much his camp over in Tijuana with, every major Mexican fighter pretty much going through there at some point, especially the ones that fight in the United States. Whereas Figueiredo linked up with Cejudo like only a couple months before the last fight. I'd be really interested to see how much more he develops having a full, almost year at this point with Henry Cejudo going into the next fight, and see how much more they develop a strategy and skill set, especially when it comes to wrestling and defense. So even he's developing, but I think we all know, I think it's going to be a 4th fight, and they're just kind of starting up the trash talk now. I find it a little weird coming out from Moreno because he's always been like trying to play the humble card, and now he's kind of going into the shit talking card, which is just weird to me. It just seems weird. I don't know about you, Brandon, but it just seems weird.
I think it's just people personality just come out, man. His English is getting better, so he can speak more comfortably. with his English, and said it before where he was still kind of learning English. Man, this how things go, man. Like you just think about it sometimes, man. People like it's sometimes it's not like people are changing, but it's just like they're getting more comfortable so they can just be themselves more. And maybe that's just what it is with Brandon Moreno. I mean, he still is the fun-loving guy. To me, he didn't say anything that was kind of outlandish. He just said, "Hey, if Figueiredo isn't
now, but now he's going out dropping like words like I'm not gonna say it on the air, but the P word, PUS, I'm not gonna say it. Like he's calling them some shit. Like, and he's been going out there. Like that's something he didn't like. The last fight, he was like, "You're a nice guy. Stop pretending. I'm gonna have fun." And this fight, he's like, "You're I'm not gonna say the word."
Hey man, that's how it goes sometimes, man.
Slang for vagina. But.
Hey, sometimes you can be humble, and then the next fight, man, you find a guy again, man. Sometimes you just get angry, man. You're tired of seeing their faces. You look at.
I think that's where they're both at.
Yeah, it's just how it goes.
Speaking of people that aren't so humble all the time, and no, I'm not talking about Brandon Cuttino. I'm talking about Nate Diaz.
How about you, man?
Me? What?
I'm humble 24/7 out here. That's why you're the one who's always lead dog. Every time you get a chance, you can say lead dog. I picked that.
I would love the people to go back and watch the tapes of the last couple months of 2021 and watch how someone acts every single week who was the lead dog.
I was just returning it back to you. That's all what I was doing. I was just giving you a taste of your own medicine.
That was. All right, let's move on. I'm talking about Nate Diaz. He's the picture of humility, right? Like Nate Diaz, wins one fight like every 5 years. All of a sudden, I'm top dog. I'm the shit. Nate Diaz is going on and asked for his release. We know he has one fight left on his contract. He's been calling for the Poirier fight. He's been calling for any fight at this point because he's like, I got shit to do. I got stuff I want to do. And I'm thinking in my mind, Jake Paul, Triller, some of these other big money fights that he's probably wanting to pull up on. And he's being held back by this UFC contract. So Dustin Poirier wants to fight. Diaz wants to fight. UFC is dragging this thing out because they want to push it towards later in the summer when they have an opening in there. They don't have stuff booked type thing. And Diaz like, I don't want to wait. Give me my fight now. I want to get out of my contract or just release me. And he did it on social media. He's like, I apologize for doing it socially, but you aren't listening to my phone calls. You aren't listening to my text. I want out. So either give me the fight now or let me go. What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, man, it's kind of crazy how it's kind of been kind of going underneath the radar. Like not many people were kind of making a big deal about it, about him going on social media. But I mean, it's another one of those things where, man, like we talk about like fighter pay and everything like that. Like this is another one thing that's kind of against the system of the contracts. But to me, sometimes, I mean, not every contract is the same, but it's one of those things where, you've heard Dana White say, hey, we have to offer these guys fights. Yada, yada, yada. But basically, like, I guess, like if you offer a fight, but they turn it down, then that allows the contract to get extended somehow, even if you're giving them a bogus fight. Because remember, they wanted him to fight Khamzat Chimaev, and Nate Diaz, of course, like, no, why am I going to fight this guy? Give me a real good fight, which is the fight which everybody wants is Dustin Poirier. Poirier wants the money fight. Even Dana White says, like, yeah, I want that fight. So then if everybody wants it, all three parties want it, then what's the holdup? Again, it's like what I had said to you before, and what you just said was like, I think they're just waiting to put it on when it is that they maybe either need a main event or they need a good co-main event. I mean, to me, as of right now, I feel like International Fight Week could be the time for this fight. But we shall see.
Yeah, I've heard July. That's the thing was floated out probably 2 months ago. Like I heard July. Obviously, Poirier just fought in December against Oliveira. Diaz, I think the last fight was what?
July. October? It was last June. It's coming up on a year.
Yeah,
last June against Leon Edwards.
He's only won one fight in like 5 years, like 4 years or something like that. Like he runs his mouth like he has some entitlement when for 2 or 3 years he barely fought at all. He didn't care to fight. He was kind of semi like chilling, not retired, but we didn't know what was up with him or his brother. Nick obviously famously took off years before he came back against Robbie Lawler. and now he's probably done again as well. Look, Nate sees the dollar signs. He's like, pay me. I want my money. The Poirier fight is money. Khamzat Chimaev is a dangerous fight, and that's not money though, because Chimaev's still coming up. We see him fighting Gilbert Burns next week. That's not a big money fight for either guy because Burns is trying to reprove himself, and Chimaev is on his way up to the top. Like, it's a great fight, but it's not a headline fight. So that's where Diaz is coming from. Like, I want a fight that's going to put me in the main event or co-main event. It's kind of like Conor. Like, Conor wants these title shots or against somebody who's going to put him in the main or co-main event so he can get those dollars. And Nate sees all the dollar signs outside of the UFC right now, whether it's celebrity boxing, Jake Paul, Triller, and bare knuckle, like whatever the case is. Nate Diaz knows he can make some serious money. And I'm sure, like you just said, how fighters talk, I'm sure, you know, agents and managers and everybody's whispering, whether it's tampering or not. I don't know how like promotional contracts work in combat sports, but there's people whispering like, hey, this much money is waiting for you when your contract's up. And I wouldn't even be surprised to see Bellator back up the truck for somebody like Nate Diaz to come in and fight a couple fights. You know, that's what Scott Coker does, names like him. Like, that's money for him. So, you know, I could see that too. So I don't think the situation is going to get resolved the way Nate Diaz wants, because Dana just very rarely ever bends over for the fighters. He's going to have to wait. And I do think we'll see the Poirier fight, but I don't think we're going to see it till at least July, even August. So it sucks for Nate because he's going to keep waiting. But unfortunately, that's kind of the way the UFC contracts work and the monopoly over it. So, and I'm pretty sure Nate Diaz's contract was pre-2017, which means he's not even subject to the 5-year clause, which, you know, the whole Ngannou thing that we've been talking about. Because I think Nate Diaz signed his contract in 15 or 16. So that's what we're dealing with. But he took time off. That was Nate Diaz's fault. He could have had this fight done a long time ago. Any final thoughts before we move on?
Man, it's just one of those things was like, I don't know why you keep the guy around. It's like majority of his year has been in the UFC. The man's going to be 37 in like a month or so. So I, you know how people want to say, man, his best years are probably past him. You already made money off the guy. Just let him go do his thing, you know?
Yeah, I just think it's, you know, Dana being controlling and doing what Dana does, right? Mm-hmm. I think he's probably got to leave it at that. And like I said, he's only won one fight in the last 4 or 5 years. So, yeah, he turns 37 April 16th. So, yeah, he's not a young guy. Anyway, moving on to a topic near and dear to Brandon's heart, because I ain't going to lie, I forgot about it. Brandon reminded me of it. That's why he's the co-host. That's why he's the man. Bellator has their Grand Prix coming up. They announced the brackets. Of course, the champ Sergio Pettis is out with injury. James Gallagher had to drop out with an injury. So it kind of forced them to mix things up, change it up a little bit. They're going to have a couple wild card fights to kind of even get into the brackets. As it's lined up right now, I'll put it on the screen for you guys to see. As it's lined up right now, you got Archuleta versus Stotts. Leandro Higo is going to fight the winner of Lugo and Sabatello. On the other side of the bracket, you got Patchy Mix versus Horiguchi. And then you got Magomedov against the winner of Barzola and Hill. So that's the way it's matched up right now. Brandon, what do you think of the brackets? And by the way, not only for the prize money, but also looks like it's going to be for an interim title belt. Because, you know, everybody's got an interim title belt because, you know, every Grand Prix lately, they've had the champion involved. In this case, champion got hurt. So they're doing an interim title belt, which I think is kind of crap. I'm like, you get the Grand Prix belt, that should be good enough. And then you just fight Pettis when he's healthy. But we'll see how that works out. What do you think of this whole thing? Who's your favorite going into this tournament? And what do you think of the way they kind of laid it out with the wild cards and stuff this year?
No, I mean, I do like it. I mean, like I said, I remember when you guys watch Battleground and we did the best divisions. I think I came out saying that 135 was the best division in all of MMA, and this is one of the reasons why. You look at this tournament. I mean, that the one wild card match that I kind of don't know why they're doing it, because if it was me, I would probably just put Hill in automatically, because to me, I think Hill is that good, Josh Hill. But hey, man, I mean, they want to make him fight in. All right, make him fight in. I've had to say that the favorite for this, it has to be Hiraguchi. I mean, we already said it. Like, he just fought for the belt. I mean, he was dominating that. I mean, he was winning that fight until he got caught. So I probably really want to say that he is the favorite. I mean, he does have a tough one with Apache Mix coming up, but hey, man, on that other side though, man, that Stotts Archuleta fight, man, should be a banger. I mean, Archuleta is one of the guys that Stotts was calling out. I remember when he did his Insta stories and he was in the elevator. Oh, look who it is. Look who it is. These dudes been hiding from me. And Archuleta was one of the guys. It was him and Mix. They're the two guys that he was calling out. He gets to finally fight one of them. He gets to prove where it is he is in the bantamweight division. So I'm probably looking for probably on one side, I probably am going to go with Stotts. And then on the other side, I probably am going to go with Hiraguchi, man. Until it's to me, it's going to be the winner of the Hiraguchi mixed fight will make it in the other final.
What do you think of the adding the wild cards?
I mean, I like it. I think
it just kind of shows how deep the division is if they have that many fighters.
Yeah,
including.
When they first did this one, like for the Bantamweight Grand Prix, there was talks of them doing a 16-man tournament. Like that's how kind of deep their really Bantamweight division was, but they still decided to do the regular 8-man. So I mean, I'm cool with it. I like it. It makes these guys prove it. I mean, it kind of stinks that they do have to do it, that they have to do one more fight, than everybody else. But hey, man, that's how it is. When you're watching that NFL, NFL playoffs, the number one seed, they get a bye. So it's kind of how it is a little bit.
I look at this bracket, and for one, I think Rafael Stotts. I think Stotts is the favorite in my opinion. Rufián Stotts. I'm sorry, I didn't say that. Rufián Stotts. I think Stotts is the favorite in my opinion. Like I think he's going to be the guy that wins it all. I think he's got so much momentum right now, and he's just so talented in that cage. I think Stotts is the guy that I'm looking at to win it. I don't think Hiraguchi gets past Patchy Mix personally. I think Patchy Mix is just fighting some of his best fights right now of his career. I think he's on fire. I think him and Stotts are going to be in the finals. I wouldn't sleep on Higo. Leandro Higo's been looked fantastic. You saw that Ricky Vendejas fight. Like he's just looked fantastic. Magomedov, like you can't sleep on him either. He's got one loss on his entire career. Like the dude's a beast. Like this is one of the most this Bellator's 135-pound division. Despite how good the UFC's 135-pound division is, Bellator's is better. This is one of the divisions you can look at and say, top to bottom, their division is better. We love, Sterling and Jan and all these guys. And I would put them probably above the entire division in Bellator. But then, you go 1 through 15, I'm looking at the depth that Bellator has at their 135-pound division. And like you said, we talked about this on Battleground. And I agree with you. It's one of the few times I will agree with Brandon. I agree with you. I think this division is stacked. I think this is going to be a very fun Grand Prix. I think, I hope it doesn't get hung up because a lot of these Grand Prix that Bellator's been doing, you're like waiting for a conclusion like a year later. Like you saw it with the featherweight one with Pitbull and AJ McKee. It took forever to get that finals. People get hurt. People get delayed. You're seeing it now with the light heavyweight Grand Prix getting pushed around, hopefully finishing up next month. And now this one's getting started. They're planning to start it on April 22nd and 23rd. And I'm just I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be really fun matchups. I mean, let's be real. Archuleta and Stotts could headline a card on their own. Patchy Mix and Hiraguchi could headline a card on their own. Higo and Magomedov are both I wish they were fighting each other, honestly. I would love to see that fight. That's a stylistic grappler versus striker. And Higo's got some, that sneaky good jiu-jitsu. It's that would have been a fun fight. But it's also a card. I wouldn't be surprised if either of the wild cards kind of came out, but anything's possible. It is the fight game. But I wouldn't be surprised if any of the other 6 made it to the finals. I mean, I think it's that good. Any final thoughts on this one, Brandon?
Nah, man. Like I said, I'm just waiting to see, man, what happens. But I do agree with you about the interim title. I don't think they needed it, since you're going to be the Grand Prix champion and you're going to get $1 million. And then, like I said, if you win that, you can automatically become the number one contender to fight Sergio Pettis. But hey, man, that's what people want to be, man. They want to be champs, more titles, to their resume, more money coming their way as well.
The conspiracy theory in me wonders if it's not better for someone like Apache Mix or a Stotts who hasn't had a title shot yet, or Mix is the former champion, but obviously
he fought for Archuleta was the former champion. It was Archuleta and Mix. They had fought for the belt.
Yeah, and so Archuleta's already fought Pettis. Horiguchi's fought Pettis. Pettis isn't going to be out for a year, so he's sitting there waiting for this title thing to work out. Whoever loses Stotts or Mix or somebody like that is stuck waiting for fights too. Would it be better to lose in the first round of this tournament so you could get a title shot sooner?
Hey man, it kind of happened with Marat Grigorian in one championship. He was in their featherweight kickboxing tournament. He got COVID, so he was out of the tournament. Next thing you know, he got a title shot. So I mean, hey, man, it could happen in Bellator as well. Why not?
It might work out for James Gallagher. He just dropped out last Thursday. Like, he was supposed to be in it too. And he's another guy, like, I ain't got nothing to do now for a year. Like, give me the title shot. It might work out better for the guys who aren't in the tournament. Or say, Lord forbid, something happens to somebody in that top 6, that, they get sick or they get an injury that heals quickly and they're out of the tournament, but now they got nothing to do. Maybe they get themselves a title shot even faster because, like I said, Pettis has got to be back sooner than later.
Yeah, I think he's supposed to be out 6 to 9 months, they said. Yeah,
and we know how long these tournaments last. So he's going to be ready to fight by the end of the year probably or beginning of next year. Is this tournament going to be done by then? Are they going to wrap it up and make it smooth? Scott Coker doesn't have a history of that. These tournaments tend to last. Stuff happens. That is our opinions on that. Tell us who you think is going to win the Bellator Grand Prix. Give us your thoughts in the comments. Drop a comment and tell us who's right, who's wrong, what's your thoughts. Maybe you got a different opinion completely. Let us know. We love to engage with you folks. That is all we got for today. Make sure you check out FightersFirst.shop. We got a lot of really cool stuff going in there. Check out the Mechanic Collection. We got his Vintage 22 shirt in there. Pretty dope. It's something different. Going with a white design, light colors, a lot of dark colors in there. So I thought I'd lighten it up a little bit, give them something different. We got the new Art of MMA shirt in there. And, of course, all the new vintage collections as well. Working on new stuff all the time. One of our sister shows, Cage My IQ, I just dropped their shirt. Calf Kick Sports just dropped their shirts. Working on a new one for Kicking In. I'm working for a new one for Slamtown. So that's coming up. Told you about Bad News Brown. So just pay attention. FightersFirst.shop. Pay attention to all that. And then make sure you drop a like and subscribe and leave a comment, man. Brandon and I love to go back and forth with you guys on Twitter, Instagram, right here on YouTube. We love to engage. So drop a comment. Let us know. Any final thoughts this week, Brandon, before we get out of here?
Yeah, man, just keep rocking with us, guys. That's it. That's all I got to say. And don't worry, baby. The year is early, man. We're still in the first quarter of picks. Don't worry. Sooner or later, it'll turn around for me. I'm just letting Mike just get his, just let his head keep growing. Then boom, I'm gonna pop that bad boy.
Pat myself on the back.
Whatever you say, Barry Horowitz. Whatever you say.
21-10. Barry Horowitz was never 21-10. I had like one bad week. That was it. 21-10. Mr. Barely over 500. Look, you can't say nothing. This is the best way to end the show.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let you just talk, and then boom. Then when I start to slowly pick it up on you, you're gonna be like, oh, okay.
I mean, when the show is canceled for the rest of the year, it has nothing to do with that. I promise.
All right.
Anyways, that's the Mechanic, Brandon Cuttino. I'm Mike Ginn. Drop a comment, like, and subscribe. We love to hear from all of you. Thank you for watching. This is Art of MMA, and we're out.